How accurate are the stories about these riots in mainstream media? So we've got the strength card, that's interesting, and we've got the hermit card. So it looks absolutely controlled. Whatever we're getting is controlled by the alliance. So that gives me the impression that a lot of it is created, generated, and it's a psyop. So oh my goodness. So this is a lot of this, what you're seeing is either made up or literally staged. And these are planted riots, like planted by, get this, the alliance. Okay. So some of even the footage could be staged, could also be old footage. And they could also create some of this chaos and then go film it and only show the parts that serve whatever psyop they're trying to pull off here. And it looks like they're pulling off a psyop here. And this is interesting because the near future is victory, a victory for the people. So somehow this ends, or as it evolves into a victory for humanity, which right now is exactly the opposite of what it looks like. Like both sides are freaking out about what's going on, and neither of them look like they have it right. Okay, so this is wild. Okay, so we've got the ace. This is going to move in a direction and out something. This is going to move in a direction and out something totally different and end in a celebration of some kind. That's a celebration card, well aspected. Okay, sometimes it's my party substance card, my adrenochrome, but it's really well aspected with all the cards around it. So I'm going to talk about it a different way, which of course the obvious way is a celebration. If you look at those three women, they're celebrating. This is going to end in a celebration. So I guess that July, or that gives us a hint that June 4th might be a big celebration, even though they're trying to make it look like there's so many Trump haters that everybody's going to try to take down his big parade. I'm going to say maybe not. Okay, so a lot of that's a big psyop, and the lefties are really getting stirred up. Okay, it's like unbelievable. Trying to talk to them about it's not helping, though. Not helpful. So I'm just backing off. It's like, I'm not even going to talk about that. Okay, so crazy. Let's look at today. So we're going to go June 9th, day by day. This is Monday, June 9th, 2025. We're going to look at that. If you're watching this anywhere other than tarotbyjanine.com, this was a pirated video. So you want to come on over to tarotbyjanine.com and support my channel. Thank you. Okay, so June 9th, let's have a look. So we've got that Hierophant card. Hierophant, and big teaching moment here, and very direct. Because this is the first card down, it's archetypally about us or going into the day. Okay, so I wouldn't call it the deep state card because it's not in the position. This is more personal. So you read this more as an archetype. So the archetype of the Hierophant is incredibly instructional. They like to I'm actually got all my numerology comes to the fives, except for one number, actually. No, maybe two numbers. When you work it out to the 5-number system, I've got 3 5s. So that's a lot. 3 out of 5 is a lot of 5s. And I'm very much that Hierophant kind of personality. It's somebody that likes to share information. And if they're doing it properly, they're being the visual face of universal intention. In other words, using tools to reflect what the universe wants to tell people. Okay, so if they're doing it properly, so they take their ego out of the equation and then just try to reflect. The reflectors for universal knowledge. Okay, but if you're doing it badly, you're like a preacher, you're like an evangelist, you're like somebody who always thinks they're right about everything. And I really try not to be in that category. Like I might across that way sometime, but honestly, that's not my intention. So I feel good about, I know my intention, and it's just to reflect information. Okay, so that's the good Hierophant. And all of us need to be that good Hierophant right now. Like if someone does approach us, but there's going to be a lot of people really judgmental about what they see and what they think is going on, by the way. And that's exactly what's happening with my normie friends. They're really judgmental because they think, that whole ICE thing, they got it all wrong what it's actually about. Okay, but if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. If you're actually literally, some ICE agents and what they're really doing, let me know. Okay, so we've got that Queen of Swords. Yeah, so there's a lot of judgment and a lot of Trump hating going on all across the world. Okay, so, or that's how it appears. That's what they're stirring up, and they're sending stories out that really enhance that, it looks like. So we're going to need to be the calm, patient reason over here if anyone cares to actually understand your situation. But in a lot of situations, they won't even listen. So yeah, only extend this energy if someone comes asking. That's my new plan. So yeah, this is the war breaking out in the open. It does look like a lot of what's going on today actually is maybe some deep state stuff. Okay, so clashing. So in the first read, it looked like a lot of those situations in LA were created by the Alliance. But whatever we're seeing today out in the world, so the big world news we see out today, we got a lot of clashing with who's left of what we call the deep state, the Khazarian mafia. We've got a lot of situations where people are cracking into each other, like warring right out in the open. And we might even hear about that in a bigger way sometime today. And I haven't really studied the newsreels or the Truther news yet, so I don't know. Maybe that's already out there, and it is in the past, so it feels like it could be already out there. Now we've got the Knight of Cups right in the middle here. This is how everybody's feeling, extremely triggered emotionally. Okay, there's a lot of triggered. All weekend it was triggering all the normies, I'll tell you, all the lefties. Oh my goodness, the stories that were going on, right? And I kept feeling like they got it all wrong. Like none of that's actually what that's about. And I think I'm right about that, looking at that first reading we did. Here we've got, so they're going to continue going forward, it looks like, not really understanding the situation. Even by the end of today, I don't think the normies have any more of a handle on what's really going on. Here's our advice, though. We need to be the Empress. So just let things sort out. Remember, I was getting in the last week there that the whole June is going to be a whole bunch of fear porn and total BS all over the news. And that's what I think's going on here. We need to rise above, get in nature, stay connected to our own personal nature. Like there's an inner nature connection to everybody. So even if you can't literally get into nature, you are part of nature. Okay. You're an organic human being and you are part of nature. Okay, try to get in touch with that part of yourself, and for some of us it'll be literally like going outdoors in nature. Now we've got the Nine of Cups. Do something pleasurable, because today's kind of a write-off. News looks like it's going to go every which way, and it's really mostly BS. I got a feeling June's just full of that. Okay, let's look at June 10th. So that was Monday. And it looks kind of like we're just mostly hearing stories. And even if you read some really scary thing that's supposedly happening, okay, remember what I said. Okay, a lot of stuff that they say is happening in June probably isn't. Okay, all right, let's have a look. June 10th. Okay, so this is Tuesday, June 10th. What's going on? 2025. We're looking ahead here. We've got the surrender too. Okay, so we'll need to surrender to something comes out of the blue. So something kind of a new development of some kind. Let's keep looking, see what kind of development. Okay, whereas today looked like it was just a continuation of the crazy weekend, more sorting out of the news that actually mostly looks like was BS about the whole what's really going on with the riots. Okay, and who started them and who's doing them and why they're doing them. I feel like that's a whole lot of planted people, and that actually the alliance was in charge. Now it looks like a new development. So we go in a completely new direction. We go away from the rioting. We look at something totally different tomorrow. And it could be a kind of like, it looks really tough. So I think more big drops, fear porn drops. Okay, disappointments in people. So people leaving the Trump administration or people saying they need to leave. I feel like we're going to get a bunch of people outed in the Trump administration, and somebody in particular might be leaving the Trump administration. That's Tuesday, tomorrow, or stories leading up to eventually they have to leave. So outings and new directions with people, and it seems like that's been a big thing here ever since ever since he got in again. Where we know he was always in the shadows, but when he officially got in again here early this year, I feel like, or I guess it was late last year, was it? Yes, November of last year. I feel like we're going to get a continuation of news coming out of people that maybe he shouldn't have. They try to make Trump look like he just doesn't know any better, and he keeps getting these people that actually turn out to be bad guys, like even Kash Patel and that Dan guy. Okay, look into their histories, guys. I always got, I don't know about those guys. Okay, I feel like they're all using these people's brands, and they're slowly but surely showing you that these people are compromised. All people in politics who make their career in politics are compromised people. Okay, they're all placed, and they were all educated in the same schools, and none of that's okay if they're all compromised. And there's nothing good about any of these people. Okay. And they're just using their brand. And I feel like more of that gets exposed on Tuesday, tomorrow, the 10th. Somebody in particular really gets out as a baddie when they present it as a goodie. And don't believe the hype about, oh, Trump just keeps getting fooled. It's like all of this operation has been planned for years, and it's theater, you guys. Anything to do with politics right now, I'm telling you, every time I look at it in the cards, it's theater. Okay, so they're really just sending out comms and educating people. I've been saying that for years. I personally don't sit around taking any of that stuff personally. I can feel really detached when I look at it, and it's actually a good place to be. All right, but it is fascinating to see why, maybe look into why are they doing it, why that calm, and what are they trying to show us here. Yeah, that's the part that's interesting to me. Now let's look at the 11th. So June 11th, that's Wednesday. Now we're on Wednesday the 11th, working our way over to the 14th of June. Let's see what we got. Oh boy, some kind of big message. Remember when Trump put out that, so he retweeted or he reposted something. I don't think it was a tweet. I think it was on Truth Social. And he was saying that Biden's, or the person that originally put it out there, but Trump reposted it as it was. So that means he's likely, it seems like a calm that he agrees that Trump has been, or not Trump, Biden's been dead for years, and that basically he's a clone puppet, and or maybe they used all of the above: clones, puppets, AI, like robots. Like, I think they mentioned a whole bunch of stuff, and all of the above could be true for all of the different Bidens we saw over the last 4 years, right? Almost every time we saw him, he was, they were switching around 4 or 5 different versions of them. Okay, so something like that's going to come out again, maybe not exactly that, but he's going to tweet and or post something or repost something that feels pretty explosive. People will think it's like some clarity. This community will think, oh my goodness, he's telling the truth, right? Just like we did when he posted that, right? It'll really link them to Q, or the information of Q, or the information of truthers. Okay, so and just like that post that he did, that was brilliant. We really aligned, this community really aligned with that post. It's like, oh my goodness, like that's what we've been saying for years. And he actually just said that out loud. Yeah. So something like that again, looks like. And of course, it'll cause all kinds of controversy again. And lots of people will read it different ways. And it could go on for days, people trying to sort out, what did he mean by that? Actually, it'll be like a blunt truth or a clarity. But a lot of people, of course, the mainstream media will, misconstrue it here. Anyway, so that's interesting. We'll keep an eye out for that. That's the 11th. Now, this is the 12th. Let's look at that. I want to really mix these up good. So June 12th. What do we got? And that's a Thursday. So people are still, there's still controversy about whatever he put out the day before. Something he said brought up a whole lot of things and got everybody really looking into things again, which is probably exactly why he says it, right? Because when he did the Biden thing, it circulated all kinds of information about how mask wearing the Biden must have been, and all kinds of information about, what would it, what does happen when you supposedly had a president of the United States for 4 years who's been dead for years, and we've had a puppet, a mask wearer, some CGI, like somebody's got to go down for that. Like I'm surprised people aren't yelling more about that. It's fascinating. It's fascinating what's going on. I can't fathom that we're in this. We're like the movie's gotten so nuts and off the rails. I just can't even. It's like, seriously. Anyway, so the people are still, looks like they're still really talking about whatever happened the day before. So that seems like a really big deal the day before. Okay, so here we've got the Chariot here. Now we're going to go overseas. Some really difficult things happening in Europe. Some really difficult stories are going to come out. In Europe, I feel like what you'll need to know and keep in mind if you're from the areas is probably likely the UK and possibly Ireland. And we know they're having a really difficult time of it. Ireland all weekend and lots of places, actually all over the world, were rioting about various different things. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the astrology. Do you remember what Meg's been saying about the astrology the last few days? Yeah. It's pretty difficult stuff going on, right? In the Saturn placement, I think, and something else I can't remember. But anyway, you'll have to go check out what Jen's been saying lately about the astrology. But I feel like it really created lots of rioting out in the streets. And in particular, when it's in the UK, it seems to be about all of the unbelievable amounts of people that are just dropping off in all of these places that have no business being there, don't even want to be there, it seems, and don't have, there's no comfort level between the different people. There's no integration or anything, and they're giving them perks that the regular folks from there are largely suffering, say for instance, in Ireland, lots of suffering financially going on to the locals, yet these people that are being dropped off in record numbers in tiny communities are just literally being taken care of. And it's been rubbed in the face of the locals. And so it's obvious that the government is trying to wake people up there. I mean, not them particularly, but I believe the White Hat Alliance has control of that government. They've capitulated, and they're making those people look just as bad as really what they had planned to do really slowly over the next 10, 20 years. They're doing it all at once. So they're bringing in the amounts of people they were going to do slowly and just like do that frog water boiling, where before you know it, it's boiling, but it was happened so slowly. No, they're doing it like an overnight boil. Okay, so people actually wake up and notice that, you know what, this was the plan all along. They were going to absolutely flood your country. Like, they're creating civil war situations all over the world. This was a deep state plan to dismantle the world, bring in their world laws, and clamp everything down in 15-minute cities. That was the deal. That was the idea, and that's all been messed with Trump and the white hats in the background. So no longer going to be the case, but they're still playing out these scenarios, right? So that's what I've been saying for years. So here we've got, I feel like something happens, and this community has a much better understanding by the end of the day there that I'm talking about here. They'll have a much better understanding the situation, take it way down, so it'll appear way worse than it is. So something's going to be talked about and in the news about a European city, or maybe a lot of places in Europe, that's really alarming, okay, and has a lot to do with, I believe, illegal immigration again, okay. And I feel like the story just really gets exaggerated here. So we're going to need to do our due diligence and really look at what's real and what's fear porn, okay? Because it'll get everybody really freaking out. But really, it's just to get at least normies woken up to, this isn't okay what they're doing, okay? So being all polite about it, okay? At some point, boundaries, and make a boundary and literally cut off who's coming in, and have a look at why all of these people are being flooded in there. What's really the agenda there? Okay, so now let's look at Friday. So October, what are we on now? The 13th, yep. Or sorry, June. Did I just say October? Where do I get these ideas? Okay, June 13th, Friday the 13th. Wait a sec. That's double check, Coco. Is that a Friday? Friday the 13th. Yikes, eh? That date again.
Yes, it is.
It is. Thanks, Coco. Coco just made a guest appearance on Janine's World News. Thank you, Coco. Friday the 13th. Okay, this should be interesting. Let's see what we got. And this is the day before Trump's big party there, where they're literally pulling in tanks. The interesting thing is, they were talking about tanks going to DC, and they were showing pictures of it on the normie news, okay, and getting my normie friends all cranked up, okay, and they were like, oh my goodness, they're gonna kill all the people in, that are protesting against all the ICE, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, excuse me, those tanks are going to DC. They're not going to, per se, at least I didn't see any news about tanks going to LA. Okay, maybe I just missed that, but these tanks were going to DC is what I understood. And they're going to DC, I said, because there's some big parade, okay, that Trump's doing on his birthday. Okay, and they had no understanding of that. They were like, no, it's to kill all the people that are against ICE, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay. I need somebody boots on the ground telling me what's really going on there. All right, let's have a look. So Friday the 13th, we've got, okay, some big truth takes us in a totally, again, so we're getting really, really cranked around with our emotions all week, you guys, okay, because this looks like now something totally, so some big truth bomb, okay, completely changes a lot of things from what it appears to be, okay, and it's gearing up to something pretty big, like where it's shocking, or it'll shock the normies for sure. Could just be a revelation to us in this community. So something's coming. It could even be from a space or another dimension, because I'm not so sure we're a spinning ball with gravity's created by our spinning a zillion miles an hour, moving through space around the sun. I'm not so sure that's how it works, but I don't know how it works. I haven't a clue, but honestly, I don't believe anything I was taught in school. So I'm just going to be open-minded about how it plays out, okay, and what really is happening, because I'm pretty sure I got a lot to learn there. So I'm staying open-minded, and I'm not too worried about trying to hammer down exactly how it works, okay? I believe we're an energy center for sure, and we're maybe held together, but I'm not sure gravity works the way they say it does, okay? I'm just not convinced. It's too much BS for me, so I'm just not going to try to figure that out just yet. And my cards haven't been really clear about it, other than it's not quite how they told us, and it's not quite how the flat earth say it exactly. So it's somewhere in the middle somewhere. Okay, just so you know what I've been getting there. But something from some other dimension and or something, a really out there kind of situation shows up here and freaks everybody out, or some truth about something, and I feel like it's UFO and or driven by something to do with other worlders or off-worlders, some kind of truth about that, or situation that's created by the appearance of these energies, okay? Because that card could even mean the appearance of them, or even a message from them that they're coming physically, or something shows up that looks like it's real proof about these guys exist, or other dimensional beings, other alien beings exist in the world amongst humans, something like that, and it causes a real revelation. Okay, so now we seem to be getting yanked in a different direction. So we're going away from all of that ice stuff that everybody's yelling about in the normie world, and we're going to then we got yanked to Europe for some kind of situation. Now we're getting yanked to outer space here, and or other dimensional energies, and maybe even it looks like good alien to me energies, some kind of proof about it, or a dropped piece of information that really freaks everybody out here and maybe becomes quite a revelation as the weeks go forward from that, right? But it's just the beginning of that, and it looks like it's happening on Good Friday. Good Friday. Where do I get these? Okay, Friday the 13th, which maybe is a good kind of Friday, because maybe I meant that. Maybe I meant good. I let the universe sort of just come out my mouth sometimes. Maybe it will be a great Friday. And by the way, just because the bad guys have told you for years that Friday the 13th is bad, maybe it's actually a really lucky day. I'm going to think of it that way, as a lucky day. Now let's look at Trump's birthday, June 14th. Yes. Let's have a look. What the heck's going to happen? Okay, it is kind of weird that he's doing a big military parade when he's been told he's, kind of a dictator or whatever. And this is just foolish people saying that. That isn't anyone who knows this guy's brand and what he's really all about would know better. But he for sure does have a lot of respect for the military, at least the good military. I'm hoping that is true, and I'm intending that to be the truth. And I think he does work and is even in charge of what we've been calling the good military, or has a lot to do with that, white hat military. Okay, so him having a military parade on his birthday, that's going to be fascinating. Talk about comms. It's definitely going to be exciting that day. Okay, so that's Saturday now, the 14th of June, Trump's birthday. What the heck's going on? Okay, so honestly, none of this looks like the big rioting that everyone's expecting. Okay, all the normies are saying, okay, there's going to be civil war between now and the 14th. That's literally, okay. I feel like, let's go back to the original question that I asked right when I started this. I said, okay, that was all, a lot of that is trumped up, let's call it. A lot of that is faking people out. Okay, so, and planted people in neighborhoods causing trouble. Okay, and then they photograph it and or take video footage of it, and then they replay from all these different angles. And guess what? It's not the whole city wide. Okay. And it even fools the people who live in the city because they recognize that's their city and it looks like it's burning down. And I believe that they're just doing these isolated, like almost like taken advantage of photo shoots. You know how the rich people do that, and or famous people will they'll go get a photo op situation. That's what they're doing with these. I really don't think they're what they're proclaiming to be. I don't think they're huge assaults on entire cities where they're getting ripped apart. I feel like that is exaggerated and part of the BS that we were expecting in June. Okay, sorry, I just bleaked out there. It looks like it's a great celebration, and the biggest thing, and the whole world's in on it somehow. So everyone's going to be watching Trump's big celebration or whatever, and see that Ace of Swords here, some kind of independence, and or I feel like the big message is that we're more free than we thought, and our financial system is we're not debt slaves anymore. And I don't know how they're going to put that across, but it feels like that's the big takeaway. Certainly for you in this community, that's what I think we're going to take away. Maybe the normies won't all take that away, but actually they get more on board with it than you think. Like leading up to it, no one will ever tell you that in news, but it turns out a whole lot of people have actually turned into Trump lovers. So he actually gets a lot of support on his day. Wow. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my video. Thanks, Coco, for helping me. And love you guys. Sending you all ravens. Bye-bye.
Probe. We'll get into that in just a moment. But if you guys want to go and bookmark those two videos here, you're probably going to want to watch that on repeat a couple of times to get to the crux of the matter. All right, Janine, 40,000-foot pool. What do we have?
Okay, so we've got the Three of Pentacles here, which is like groups working together, like building a foundation. There's a secure foundation with this card. And then we've got the 10 of Cups, which is like an illusion. Okay, so secure foundations, things we think are built on secure foundations. I feel like things are going to be outed that we thought were secure. Like maybe not this group, maybe some of the things we think are secure even in this group. Okay, so I'm going to say in the world, some foundations are going to be taken out from under people unexpectedly. Some truth, some woo truth on things that long were held as that's the foundation of something. And that actually makes sense to even Cliff's info, because he's talking about the difference between the gritology and the, what's the other one?
Ontology.
Ontology.
Yep.
And that really what we just saw there, the cards move it towards ontology being the way it really is. Right. Yep. What I got in my quick pick. And of course, that's been a long time. This community's kind of known that Cliff was right about the ontology being different than the gritology and it being more accurate, really. Absolutely. So that might even be one of the things. There might be other things, but the whole grid of what we thought was true about the world and how we thought it was and the time frame we're on and just the way time works, everything, it's all coming down. So I feel like in the big picture, in the big events coming in the next few months, more of that structure really crumbles and we see what's been a lie and what's truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fool card says, like a lot of people are going to be, jaw drop moments for a lot of people on what's coming. Okay. Right. And then this Four of Swords, so hidden information. We've got the 6, so a lot of hidden information coming out and a lot of alliances being revealed. So who's working with who? You thought these two were enemies, really they're working together. That's something a lot of this community's already been speculating on. Like for a long time, I've thought that the Ukraine guy, the president of the Ukraine, and also the Russian guy, they were working together.
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're all it's not what you think it is, right?
It's starting to look like Trump and Carney were working together all along. They're big buddies now, and apparently
Yeah,
during the campaign, we're in crisis. Oh my God, we have to fight
yeah,
Donald Trump, and
yeah,
that's not what we saw at the first meeting there in
yeah,
D.C. with Carney and Trump. Quite to the
yeah.
contrary. Okay, so more exposure of that. The who's who, who's
Mhm.
playing what, the game
Yeah,
being played here. Okay.
yeah.
All right. A new pope is an American. Yes, that's in the live chat as well. Why don't we start there, Janine? So, yeah, we'll get into the Epstein here very briefly because, again, none of this is news to our community, but there might be a few pieces there that are still of interest. Of course, the Prince Andrew thing, some of the royal advisors now admitting to that, caught on tape. I thought that was interesting. It's just validating the stuff that we've been saying before. But again, it's making the rounds now a little bit more mainstream for people. And this drop here on Pam Bondi. So I'll get into that in just a moment. Let's go back to the Pope, though. So the CBC were reporting earlier today, the recap there, it's the first American Pope. And interestingly enough, we had in the last, I guess, week or two, all the memes about Trump being the Pope. So that back to back seems to be telling us here that perhaps there's something where America is in control of the Vatican, or at least this seems to be going that way here too after the conclave. We did a poll earlier today on the viewer questions for the audience members. If you haven't seen that, go check it out on beyondmystic.net. But for here, Janine, can we do just a blank poll on what we need to know about this new Pope? Where it goes, if there's anything special we need to know. Is he going to be long-lived? Is he going to be presiding over the implosion of the Catholic Church? Is he going to be presiding over presumably this self-revealing ontology here that's going to change the face of our religion? Religions, plural, here on the planet. So his name, of course, Cardinal Robert Prévost. Very French name here. Again, the first American Pope. Interestingly enough, Janine, what do we need to know?
Wow. Okay, so see that card again?
Mm.
So illusions, being we're being shown that certain things are an illusion, and this guy's here to bring in like some knowledge about what's really going on in the Vatican. I think what's been hidden and not talked about, and the elephants in the room there. If you just even look around the Vatican building, so have a little look at the reception room where the Pope often speaks from, and even the sculpture behind him, it's demonic. So from the front, you might not see it. It looks like kind of a figure on a cross, but coming apart, almost like exploding, really. But from the side, you see that it's a reptilian. And the whole thing is very deviously done, but with anyone who's looking for it, they'll see it. Mm-hmm. Also, the whole shape of that entrance room, that reception room, is literally shaped like a great big serpent's head, has serpent eyes to it. And if you get the right shot, it's absolutely a serpent. So spell casting and double speak all over the Vatican. There you go. Yeah, it's just unbelievably right in your face. And I feel like this Pope's going to usher that in to some degree. They'll be faking it at first, like, oh, everything's great. There'll be at least 2. This could be weeks, where this could be months. This could be weeks, but it's not that long. Things will start coming apart at the seams here. This card's like a lot of things coming apart at the seams in a whole bunch of directions. They're going to use this guy to bring in a lot of truth. So just keep watching for comms. This is the world population, like the deception that how they've deceived the world populations. I feel like it comes down with this guy, and I'm giving it maybe till 8, so the 8th month, maybe 8 weeks, where you'll really start to see it. But I don't think he's going to be around long. I think that calm with Trump as the Pope and then having an American Pope is absolutely that Trump and the White Hats are in charge. I think that's exactly what it's saying. Yeah, we're going to see. This is a big strategy. They placed him there, and the strategy, even of having the American Pope, it's all part of the comms. Oh, I can't hear you, Jean-Claude.
Sorry, my dog was barking. It definitely looks that way, but can we do a clarifier here to see if this new Pope now is in collaboration with the White Hats? Is he standalone, working for the Vatican and towards their own objectives? Or is this more aligned with the war, so to speak, on the White Hat side of things?
We might need the whole deck for that
whole deck
because
for
the
that, yeah.
Emperor was taken up there, and I think we might see that in there.
Okay.
Okay, so who's this guy? Is he like White Hat? Is he still part of the deep state? Like, where's his affiliations? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah. Who's he working for here? So Pope Leo the 19th, no, Pope Leo the 14th, named the first American leader of the Catholic Church, the one and only Cardinal Robert Prévost. So who's he aligned with, Janine?
Well, he's definitely a deep state pope.
Mm-hmm. You got that earlier today in the same card.
Yeah, he's a deep state guy. And we've got the Chariot in the past. Chariot, like there's sort of a riskiness to that Chariot and fast moving. It's interesting how fast they chose him. Remember the last time it took days, I think.
Yeah.
And this was really short-lived.
Yeah, it was a short-lived conclave.
So we've got the Page of Pentacles here in the middle between, but the Four of Pentacles, I wonder if he's being forced. I wonder if his hand is forced to do this. I think they're walking of shame with this guy. Mm-hmm. I think they've got him kind of hands tied, and he's, for his own protection, he has to say what they tell him. So I wouldn't go as far as to say he's capitulated. I feel like he still really wants to call himself he's on the bad guy side. He still thinks the bad guys are okay. Like I got this feeling that I wouldn't call him all the way capitulated, but he might feel like he has to do this to protect himself or something he's protecting. Mm-hmm. And this is interesting. We've got the Empress there. We've got the Deep State card and the Empress card, and this card can be about royalty. I even think this guy's really high up in the Deep State. I feel like he's probably more important than they're letting on, and he might be, as far as the Deep Staters, he might be quite high up in that that system. Mm-hmm. I think we got ourselves a real high up deep stater, and they're going to walk of shame him.
I'm just trying to do the math. They announced the Pope was dead on April 21st on Easter Monday. So 7 days, 14 days. Somebody was pointing out that between the death and the naming of the new Pope, there's actually 17 days. So, yeah, that appears to be correct there. I'm just doing the math quickly here, doing this live. Isn't that interesting, Janine? Again, the codes are all in your face there. Okay. Yeah. So doing the walk of shame and, so doing the bidding here of the white hats, and there's a tag on this with the 17. And, of course, all of the Trump memes in the last week seem to be pushing in that direction. So we have... This is what they wanted. Yeah. Okay. Twist your noodle. For a lot of the newbies, they're going, what are you guys talking about? Nothing. Go back to sleep. It's all good. Okay. So let's go back quickly on the Epstein stuff. So again, if you haven't watched the other episode, go check it out. Nothing new to us except now some not really whistleblowers, but confidants of the royal
insiders,
family.
Insiders.
Yeah. People who've know the matter, know these people personally, raising his kids and all that stuff. So they're saying now that Prince Andrew lied to them when he said that he wasn't involved with Epstein and what was going on the island. And now these people are saying, no, in fact, Prince Andrew was lying. So, yeah, so you can see that from the title. So there's that, guys. Make it of what you want. Again, this is not what most of our community is looking for. Most of our community is looking for, well, if Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking children, we want to know who was hurting the children. So where the hell is that, right? Yep. And so this is the issue now that's been gnawing at the Trump administration. He had promised to reveal the Epstein list on day one of his presidency. We're way past the inauguration day 2, and we're still not here. And we've been hearing rumors, suggestions that perhaps the FBI originally were refusing to give Pam Bondi the information. She eventually had to force their hand. This was 2 months ago. And now there's rumors that perhaps she is also involved in some of the cover-ups. That's what Alex Jones was saying yesterday on his show, that he got that from his own sources. But let's hear this latest drop. We haven't played this on the show here from James O'Keefe. Actually, let me just change slide deck to make sure we have the audio for the audience on that one. Yeah, let's play this one here, and we'll come back and we'll try to pull some cards on this as well.
States Pam Bondi was at the White House and disclosed what she represented as brand new information in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. The existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, this is the first time an official has publicly acknowledged that videos of Epstein and his victims exist. What you may not know is just 9 days prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. FBI's been.
Okay.
So,
any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken about the, quote, mountain of evidence in the Epstein case. But they've never, previous to that moment, acknowledged on the existence of videos of, quote, little kids. Just a few days later, at 2 p.m. on May 1st, our reporter sent the AG's office the text of the recording. We asked why this detail had not been disclosed to the public, but was instead being told to a random stranger at a restaurant. The Attorney General used almost the exact same language as she did with the stranger in the restaurant, language that we shared with her press office.
There are tons and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, we hesitated to publish this story, but believe, like we did yesterday, that the public has a right to know. And this one raises serious questions. On one hand, why did our country's highest law enforcement official share this information first, not with the American people, but with the self-described nanny at brunch? But more importantly, why was this information held back in the first place? Does this show that a government apparatus is still working behind the scenes to protect powerful people involved in the scandal? Based upon the response to our Epstein story yesterday, it's clear that the American people want answers, and they want accountability.
Well, I'd like some answers. I want accountability, but there's some confusion with this statement. So there's a couple of things we need to unpack here. He's right. Why is she saying that in a public restaurant to, just a random person who's apparently a nanny? So it kind of looks weird. It kind of looks like a setup or a plant. We'll get into that in just a moment. I'm not sure where this is going. So too did the interview with the royal also, who is now spilling the beans on Prince Andrew. It seemed very much contrived, in my opinion. So we'll see where this is going. But here at the restaurant, she says tens of thousands of videos with children. So in the restaurant, she doesn't mention Epstein himself. Here at the press conference later on May 7th, Epstein with children and child porn. So they're redirecting here. At least it appears that she's redirecting to focus those tens of thousands of videos with Epstein himself, but not these other people who presumably Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell would have trafficked those children to. So again, avoiding mentioning anybody else in that context. So there seems to be a weird cover up, but on one hand, it appears to be contrived to bring this conversation up for us to discuss and for us to be aggravated and frustrated once again for not having any answers. Okay, so have I made sense in that? Okay, so your first thoughts before we pull the cards here. What's going on with this latest data dump, if we want to call it that? Like, what's the plan here? What's going on, Janine?
It makes no sense she would have said that in a public place. It makes zero sense to me. And then to repeat it because she was caught out, probably she found out they recorded it, or it was all planned, one of those two things. She repeats it to the public now and then adds the words Epstein. It also makes no sense to me that only Epstein's the only one with the little kids. And he's recording his own self with little kids over and over. Does that even make sense?
No.
You know, he's smarter than that. He was bribing people with this stuff. So it can't just be him on those videos.
No. So here's a thought, and I want you to pull on this one. Here's how my brain worked, and we'll see. Maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe Pam Bondi has a lot of pressure right now, and for some reason, she thinks this is not moving fast enough. And maybe she set up that whole interview herself to kind of leak it in the way to where James O'Keefe would have to call her on it, to where she would now be forced to give an official statement about this to save the agency's ass. But really, she was just trying to move the dial forward because maybe somebody is pushing the brake pedal on her and she wanted to change the game. Is that what just happened, Janine? Do you understand where I'm getting at?
Yeah. I think you might be onto something. We'll look deeper into it, but this one flew out. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I just picked it up. It's the Two of Cups, which is backdoor deals, insider trading, and or like that kind of card. Okay, so her and the Veritas guy, I think they're in on this. And so that would lend itself to what you just said. Okay, let's keep looking here. Make sure we got that.
Yeah.
So what's really going on there? Was that authentically her caught off guard and saying
because once she has an official media question, she says, well, I can't ignore this. They're going to print. We have to answer this. And she can go to her superiors and say, we have to protect the agency here and come out with this before that comes out and blah, 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 right? So she kind of forced somebody's hand. It feels that way. But
I think you're absolutely right. See that? She's up against a lot and she was pushing really hard and couldn't get it to shift. and boom, we've got, and this is them. So this is the agency not forthcoming.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this was I think she brought it to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the guy himself there, the Veritas guy.
Yeah,
that could be O'Keefe. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we've got the star in the background. So she's put in a difficult, it's vulnerable. She's vulnerable. And we saw this earlier. We looked at it and it looked like she was actually in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
She really was in a difficult position and everything was getting blamed on her. And, yeah. Okay, yeah. It looks like it leads to movement because we go in a new direction now. They have to redirect now. And they need to think about it in a different way. So the plan has to change. So I feel like she really did accomplish her goal. She would like it to be bigger than that, but it'll do for her. It'll do. So they are going to move it in a direction and get it. Put a fire under these guys' butts. So whoever was holding it up, I feel like she did change the dial, but not radically. But she definitely moved the needle a little.
Okay. So if I were her boss, or if I were the person pumping the brakes and trying to prevent her from doing something, and I would see this move coming out, I don't need Jean-Claude and Janine, the tarot reader, to tell me this girl just fucked me, right? I would know, and I'd be pissed right now. Come on, man. Like, but at the same time, my hands are tied. Now it's out. I have to move. Maybe I'd say, okay, good on you. You played that well, but don't do it again. You'll be fired, right? The question is, who's doing that to her? Who is it internally? Is it an external force? Or perhaps even both?
Well, that's a woo card. And this is working on things, getting things out there one thing at a time. I feel like that might be like somebody's working on or trying to do the right thing. I wonder if that's talking about her.
Yeah.
And this is who she's up against here. Okay, so some legal situation. There's a legal something. You know how Trump, the White Hat Alliance, are trying to do everything, at least publicly, appearing to be completely legally in good standing.
Yeah.
We've heard that a lot, that they have to do it that way. So this can never be undone again.
Right.
And they can never go in these directions. Okay, so they were up against somebody's lawyers or legalities. And think about even the people representing some of those people that they're trying to like get away with their stuff, and or representing some of the people that are actually the abused people. Victims. I don't know. It's legal. And we know that the whole legal system is designed not really for justice.
Yeah.
Okay. It's designed to protect the bad guys mostly.
Is it possible on this? Is it? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I thought you were done. There's a little bit of a delay. Keep going. Just finish your thought.
Yeah. I just think with that devil there with the justice. So it's the blocking of justice, and somebody's blocking it with legal paperwork.
Or is it possible, as you said, it's not necessarily blocking with legal paperwork. They're wanting to make sure that they have all their I's dotted and their T's crossed to make sure that none of these guys, swarm out of it on technicalities. They want to have everybody on the hook for justice. But at the same time, if that's that, I'm saying, well, they had many years of this. This is not new data unless there's a ton of new data. And that also appears to be what Pam Bondi told us a month or two ago, that they had truckloads, thousands of documents that were upheld beforehand. So maybe that's the real kicker, is doing the legal stuff on all of this new material that perhaps they didn't even know existed up until 2 months ago. Is that possible?
Yep. So we got that right away when you were saying it. And that can also be a yes, because it's two major arcanas. Okay. And again, wanting to have a really strong situation going forward, so this never happens again.
Okay. That's crazy, right, folks? Let me know. Do you think we're on track here? Was Pam forcing the hand here with this particular news story? It looks like both of them, to me, and now this week, what James put out were contrived. Whether or not James knows about the setup or the controversy, if you want to put it that way, he seemed to be genuinely afraid last week when he put out his video saying he was not suicidal. When Janine pulled cards on it last week, it appeared to be very serious as a heart attack, and that he was needing to take precautions for his life, to the point of him giving that dead man switch, so to speak, to Alex Jones. So this information not new to us, but there still might be elements of this here that they're holding back on, right? Janine, go ahead.
I think there's more. I think he's got another big. I think we haven't even heard the biggest one.
Okay. All right. So let's leave it at that. Let's twist our noodles a little bit for the audience members. We're going to get into this segment. We're going to try to do justice to the video that was presented from Cliff High I'll try to bring up a synopsis as to how I saw it, understood it. Janine, feel free to fill in the gaps where I'm missing. So guys, if you go to the top of my Twitter page, I've linked both of these videos, the self-revealing noodle twist, as well as the Michio Kaku interview as well. So both of these videos are linked on the top of my Twitter page. You'll find them maybe 4 or 5 links down here just before we started the show here tonight. So essentially what Cliff is describing, kind of taking a victory lap here in terms of his understanding that ontology is speaking to him, speaking to all of us through tarot, through astrology, through what he calls qualias, little messages that universe is actually talking to us, and that we are in fact, this whole experience of ours starts with universal consciousness and then creates matter, as opposed to the other way around, where the gritologist believes that if you clump all this matter together, eventually you'll have evolution and you'll have consciousness. And so the scientists that are coming from the grit perspective are having their noodles twisted now with what they've just discovered, showing them that perhaps Cliff High, as crazy as he might seem, maybe was correct all along in his ontological view of things. Now, so having said that, so let me try to break this down a little bit. So essentially, the Voyager probe series were designed to basically escape the cone that is behind our sun. So our sun is like a meteor through space, and we're kind of like spiraling behind. We've showed those videos before. And so what these Voyager series were trying to do was to go past that barrier at the end and bring back information from outside of our solar system. Now, from what we're being told, not sure if this is accurate or not from our scientists, is that we haven't crossed that barrier yet. But when we did get close enough to it, we did get a signal, and Voyager did transmit that back to the planet. And this is what Michio Kaku is talking about in this interview. He's describing that this data came back. There's a specific chip that NASA was using to decode this information. These are quantum-based computers. We're talking about, what was the first chip called, Janine? Do you know? The Willow chip is the new one, but the one previous that they were using, Sycamore.
Sycamore, yeah.
Sycamore chip, right? And so he's explaining that this information that came back was, in a way, kind of hiding itself in the code to go through all of our parameters to hit our systems. It was also, I don't want to use the word conscious, but it was also reflecting whoever was looking at it. So that's interesting. And it also revealed an image that you kind of see here on the right side of this particular video of what looked like a humanoid, suggesting that a humanoid was looking back at us. So the video, the Voyager probe series, if you watch Star Trek, you know all about this. You understand perhaps where this is going. And Star Trek might have been on the ball with that first movie franchise. At any rate, what came back was a message that transformed itself. It transformed the people who saw the image to the point where it changed the biology of their brain. It wasn't just their mind that was altered by the image, but their brain. And what Michio Kaku is saying here is that perhaps this was an installation of sorts, like somehow you would update the firmware on humanity. And what Cliff is proposing in his video is that perhaps, and it might be too early to tell now, that this new installation has something to do with us reaching a certain threshold of evolution to where in our reality, there are these things that are triggered by these up-levelings. And once we hit those triggers, they in turn up-level us to another degree. Similar to, again, in Star Trek, they typically, the Prime Directive, they don't interfere with humans until they have space flight, right? So there's different degrees of where they can have interaction with evolution. Again, not to thwart evolution. So what they're suggesting in this video is that perhaps that's exactly what we're looking at here. We're looking at a system that was put in place, a trigger of sorts was hit by this Voyager probe, and now this information has come back to self-reveal itself, to basically let us know that universe is actually watching us. Watch it. So fascinating stuff. Again, I'm making it a little bit short here and condensed because we have a few questions to ask about that. Janine, what do you want to add to that? Have I hit all the notes? Do you think people are following us so far on what the breakdown of this particular information was?
I think you did it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys following us in the chat? I know it's a little bit complicated, but interestingly enough, the image that came back was also self-reflecting and personalized to everyone who was watching it. So it wasn't as if the code sent a static image of a particular human. It sent the code of a humanoid to be transformed to go through the visual barriers and the understanding barriers of the individual watching the image. So it was like a self-changing image to have the most impact or to have the most effect. Imagine the coding involved in all of that crazy stuff, right? So it's suggesting here that there's life out there, there's life, there's complexity out there, and things we absolutely don't understand. And now what the video was proposing is that all of this has gone dark. NASA is not looking at this stuff. They can't replicate it. The people who saw the image all went bonkers after the fact. Other scientists have been trying to look at this and repeat it. There's a few whistleblowers who are talking about this, but essentially it's gone dark, but we're not sure now if they're not trying to reboot these computers to try these experiments again. And it appears that officials then could be afraid that if they do, they would propagate that installation and perhaps, quote unquote, further infect humanity with whatever this information is. If it's a firmware for humanity, we don't know if it's good firmware, bad firmware. Is it a virus? Is it a up-leveling of our DNA that's absolutely benevolent and for the highest good of of humanity? We don't know. So those are the questions we're going to try to tackle here today. So first, before I go there, Janine, what was your specific question in the Quick Draw Thursday today, and what was your answer there? We'll start there as a baseline, and then I have a few more questions for you.
Okay, I wanted to know what the universe needed us to know about it all around. So if it wanted, like with the slant being, what is this thing? And is it dangerous to humanity? Mm-hmm. And it came up, so the first card I put down was the thing itself, and it came up as a court card, the King of Wands, which is very telling because a court card is an archetype. Okay, so it means it has a personality. It means it definitely has a personality. And then I discussed what that court card could mean. Okay, and then I asked to clarify. So this card here was the King of Wands. And then this card, I wanted to know, is this well aspected? Because that court card, if it's badly aspected, can be a real jerk. Okay, so it was really well aspected with the King of Swords. And I wanted this card to tell us, what did they come here for? Like, what's their intention towards humanity? So this is them, their intention towards humanity. So if this was the devil and, there was a really bad card over here, we'd be in really big trouble. But this card was the King of Wands, who is incredibly benevolent, has a great sense of humor as an archetype, is a very showy, like Trump gets that card to describe him. Is sort of obnoxious and in your face about things. Very Sagittarian, fiery, fire sign. Integrity is really high on their list if they're well aspected, which it was well aspected. Also a sense of humor and charisma. So they have a very strong charisma. And in court cards, the king is the highest evolution of an energy. So it goes pages, knights, queens, and kings.
And
queens.
Where's the emperor in the court card? The emperor.
So the emperor isn't a court card; it's a major arcana. Gotcha. So the emperor takes it even a step further.
Okay. Yeah. So we're just below the emperor, but still, this is high level energy.
Yeah, high level energy that has a good sense of humor, even a twinkle, is very creative because wands are creative, but it's a force to be reckoned with. But it's here to tell some truth. It wants to drop some truth bombs or level us up with knowing something. Or I feel like it could be an upgrade.
Right. Okay, well, we'll get into some of those questions here. So, caveat also, I have my reservations with Michio Kaku in the past. He seems to be more open now to the ontology model than before. We have to give him some space to do that, just as Joe Rogan was a really big normie when he started his podcast. And look where we are now, right? So we give people the benefit of the doubt. At the same time, Joe is saying, hey, I fear it's fear-mongering here by Michio Kaku, and this is a limited hangout. Actually, it's not Michio Kaku's story. He was just answering some questions in this documentary. Many scientists are chiming in on this, on the data that at the time was made available by NASA, and now all of this has gone dark. So he has one opinion, but most of everybody else was on the same page. This was really weird. We can't explain it. It did things that we cannot explain to the viewers. It did things to the actual quantum, the qubit chip that was being involved, the Sycamore chip, also to the point now that they can't recreate it. So there's a lot of weird things that are unanswered, and now all of this has gone dark. And it apparently the officialdom part of it on the planet is trying to erase this from our memory. And what Klafai was saying is that it can't. It's already out there and it's self-replicating. So it's very possible now that it's creating this node. And once 2 or 3 people have this information is recreating itself, kind of like a distributed blockchain, like crypto might be doing. So fascinating in times indeed. So you pulled on this. So we got the character of the information. I want to know now, is this as it was being described in those documentaries, a trigger that has been breached by our awareness of consciousness reaching a certain level to where the parameters of our existence was just triggered here to maybe move to the next level? For the longest time, this planet has been in this duality of we grow, and then we have the demiurge stamp us down. We grow again, we get the demiurge stamp us down. Are we just about now to level up past that particular part of the game of the matrix, so to speak? Was that what was just triggered here in deep space?
Wow. So this is the magician, but it's incredibly well aspected with the Empress. So the magician is very creative, obviously. Like, see that magician stance? When I really want to make something happen, I do this exact stance. I stand outside and I do the stance. So I'm pulling universal energy, so creative energy with the wand here. And sometimes I even hold a feather to do it, or even several different wands that I have that I just found and decided they were wands. And then I use my other hand. So I'm channeling the energy. So from one to the earth. Right. And that's what he's doing. And he's like consciousness. So when you look at the tarot cards as like this fool's journey through all the major arcana, and lots of people have written about this, including Carl Jung. Okay, not to say he wasn't a big, deep stater, but he also did some really cool things, like they often do. Okay, so this card is like the beginning of consciousness, is one of the ways to describe the card. It's where humanity actually realizes that they're conscious. Okay, so that's interesting, and that's why it's the number 1, right? So it's the very beginning of our start on the journey. Okay, and the Empress, she's nature itself. So this is very creative, and it works with nature, so natural substance. So humanity's a natural with material. We're material. So it's a consciousness that works with material. So any material that comes in contact with it is going to be enriched, I think, because she can be enriched, okay, by consciousness. So nature could be all around, but if no one's noticing it, working with it, acknowledging it, I feel like it's not as powerful, right? So she's a creative life force, the life force of nature, and this is the consciousness of it. And they were saying in those videos, and something Cliff also mentioned, was this energy entity seemed to be looking back at them, was actually watching them. So a big thing they noticed was they were observing it, but it was observing them first.
Right.
Okay, so this could be consciousness observing something it created.
And also the computer's timestamp started to analyze the data was it an hour or 3 hours before it has received the data? So there's this weird time dilation thing here also that they can't understand. At first they thought it was a glitch, but no, when they looked at the log, it actually started before. So weird things happening there. Yeah, truly fascinating. And which one says, yeah, Cliff's fault. My noodle is twisted too. Yeah, we're all twisted right now. All right. What's the last one?
They're going to start really fear porning with this, or a lot of people are going to take it and spin it in a fear porn way. I actually think wait on that. More is coming, and use your own intuition and instincts about it. I believe it's going to upgrade us physically. I feel like physical upgrades could come through this connection over time.
Okay. And let me bring up, so first of all, this was you at the conference. Yes, guys, disco forever. There you go. John Travolta had it all along. So I wanted to share that with you guys. But no, in all seriousness, let's go back to Safai's video. Around the 30-minute mark here, he's talking about this installation in this network of consciousness of humans. We're in that circle at the bottom here. And the question is this self-repeating? Is it self-creating right now? Were they able, by shutting down the quantum computer analyzing the data, to stop the spread, or the fact that it had already installed or infected a few scientists? Are we already in the phase where this is growing right now, whether officialdom wants to or not? What's happening in the background now? Do you want to do 2 clarifiers on that?
Yep. So we've got the 6 of Wands, which is a victory for the woo. So I feel like with this all coming out, certainly in a way it was a victory when I looked at those cards today, because it absolutely confirmed, in my opinion, what Cliff's been saying for a long time about the difference between the gritologists and the ontologists. It's obviously swinging towards ontology.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And even this layout. So consciousness first, and then it's a viewing and maybe even admiring its creation. Maybe we're the creation of this thing that was viewing those scientists.
Yeah, imagine.
So it looks like a victory, and especially for the woo and people in the know. So I'm not sure that even answered your question.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know. I was asking if it was already self-repeating in the background, and whether or not the attempts of officialdom to clamp it down was going to be successful.
It'll certainly strengthen our knowing and those that want to know the truth.
Good. The self-revealing part again. So it's still coming out.
Yeah. And then this card says it's going to take time.
Huh.
This is seeds were planted with that thing. And so I'm going to say yes, but it'll take time.
Okay.
And you have to be willing to know, I feel like, to receive it.
Mm-hmm. Now, in Cliff's video, he's making reference to 2001 Space Odyssey. If you want to see a decode on that, I did one with Jay Widener a while back. It's on beyondmystic.net. He's saying that this image that was received and that was seen by a few of our scientists is equivalent to this monolith appearing here to the apes, forever changing the apes. Now, at first glance, the appearance of this monolith was not good for the apes, because this is the point where they started beating each other up and killing each other with the bones of their victims, right? But that leads to eventually man going into space and exploring the outer boundaries of their reality, right? So is this moment akin to that image we've just received, Janine? And was this perhaps what Kubrick was trying to convey to us, that this moment was perhaps coming for humanity as well? Are we there yet? Because it appeared that he was read in to some of these space programs and some of these discoveries way back when. So was he, Kubrick, trying to tell us here that this was coming? Is this related?
Well, we got two major arcanas in the first three cards, so I'd go with yes, and maybe a different way to say it. It'll strengthen as we go forward. It's what we need. Here's what I get in my head, just popped in. It's what we need to go forward. So we're in all new territory for humanity. And it's like we were given the seed of something to balance it. It's karmic and timely. So I've been getting for a long time that it's been karmic and timely that this all happens now. So I guess that's a yes to your question. It's all happening, and it's exactly karmically timely. And it's going to give us the strength we're going to need to go into the new reality, I guess. All new territory. Oh boy. And also to really understand going forward, the other dimensional or even outer space kind of, like where there's going to be a lot of activity and we're going to need this to deal with it. I wonder if this will help us communicate better with these entities that we're going to encounter. And there will be growing pains. There will be, but this card is not as big as this. If this was here, and that 5 was on the other side, okay, it'd be a lot worse, like what those apes might have put up with. But this feels like, yeah, there will be setbacks and arguing even about it, and even about the knowledge of it. But I feel like in general, it's a huge wake up to humanity, and it's preparing us for our next sort of movement into, a way higher way of looking at things or dealing with.
Next evolutionary step, kind of like the 2001 Space Odyssey and the monolith. Wow, fascinating. Okay, we have a special guest for you guys. We have some amazing new giveaways also coming up in just a moment, so don't go away. We have some good prizes for you guys. First up, of course, let me bring up our lovely and dear friend here, Ashala, back to the show. Of course, you can find her, as always, at the consultation page here on beyondmystic.net, and you can also find her and Janine, this Sunday for the brand new Past Lives and Relationships workshop.
Yeah.
Ashala, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm in the background listening to all this and going, wow, does this ever segue nicely into our talking about past lives?
Okay.
No, it does. It really does. Because when you're talking about the ontology and you're talking about awakening us to that interdimensional reality, right? Like when I think about outer space, I also think about inner space. It's the outer is the inner. And the phenomena that we explore when we look at past lives, it's so ironic because I literally just had a huge past life session that took me into time travel, the last session today before I came onto this show. And so, looking at things like time portals, time capsules, this particular individual was literally connected to a lifetime, an earlier lifetime, and they were still there in their energy field. It was as if nothing from 1931 onwards had even happened. And they were concurring that they feel very stuck in the past. Like they really feel like they're in a different, but it just almost like, especially at this stage in their life, they're really tapping into that lifetime. And it's as though that segue never happened, and they're right back there in that other time period. So I feel like this conversation about what an image like that will trigger and awaken in us. And I loved what you were saying, Jean-Claude, about that everyone was seeing something different, unique to their own
perspective,
inner cosmology, their own past life story lineages and ancestral lineages. Like we all have our own lens. And then, you get into those scientific experiments where the actual observer creates a change in the outcome of things.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about. It's the, the inner landscape, the outer landscape, and working with past life, it's all about those interdimensional time portals.
So if we haven't twisted your noodle enough, guys, we're going to twist it a little bit more and bring your past lives and relationships back into focus here. What's interesting about the show? So first of all, thank you, Ashella, for being on. Thank you, everyone, for all the beautiful comments. We love Ashella. They were saying in the chat. Excited to have you back on the show. Excited for this new workshop you guys are doing live this Sunday, so people have time to register still here on the Academy. Let me bring up your card deck, Janine, here too, because I want to ask, in the context of what Ashella was just saying now, why is it perhaps important now? What's self-revealing in the ontology we're learning here, that somebody's looking back at us here, and we're trying to get that bigger picture, right? And what better way to get the bigger picture than to understand perhaps all of our previous incarnations that brought us here, so they understand perhaps if we were literally at that step of that next evolution for humanity, we have to make that step knowing all of our past lives as well. So what seems to be the universal timing here, why you guys are so driven at this date as we're doing this video here, this information coming out right now, as to why past lives are so important and needing our attention right now? Janine, wow. Okay.
Yeah, wow. This is a really unique card, and it talks about a person defending their right to be their unique self, defending their personal honor, having a unique approach, and it encourages that you follow your uniqueness and honor your unique approach. I always see this card that way. And this person is defending themselves against all these odds, and also like any naysayers about their uniqueness. Okay. And then really, when you think about past lives, if a person is really honestly looking at themselves and wanting to evolve, they're going to really have to look at where they've been and what created a lot of their patterns, what things are reoccurring in their life. In order for me to come to a place of real self-love, I had to really look at myself and understand, why do I keep attracting this kind of person in my love life? Why do I keep, like, my triggers? Some of my favorite songs are all unrequited love. Everyone, like, I love songs about unrequited love. Why do I love that? Okay. So I had this reoccurring idea in my head that I could never actually have a true love stick around. They're always unrequited. So I would purposely choose. So I was programmed because of my past life patterns, and purposely choose people that couldn't really be there for me, yet ignoring a whole bunch lining up there. Not to say I had that many suitors, but I certainly ignored anyone who was actually coming with anything real. So I'm purposely picking over here, but that was all my doing. But I had to self-reflect, look at that, look at my past life patterns to really understand. And in so many different ways, my past life, I had dreams about what me and my mom were like, and it helped me understand and really learn to love my mom, even though we're so different, and forgive her for, some things, like forgive myself in the way I behaved, in certain situations, because I looked at my past lives and really started understanding it, had some regressions. All of that was necessary for me to get to the evolved state, and not to say I'm so evolved, but I'm working on it. Okay. And to get to that place that I am today, and I'm really happy to be here. And I feel like this, even what we were talking about just before Ashella came on, we're going to all need to get to a place with ourselves, because we're about to level up, but we got to get to that self-love place in order to get to that level up. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, it's like, there's no slouching and there's no sleeping right now. Everybody's got to be on their toes and be ready. And yeah, like this card, we're all digital soldiers. We're all spiritual warriors right now, and having all the tools, including past life knowing and understanding our patterns psychologically, what triggers us, is really helpful. So I feel like it's a really timely workshop.
Lots of people agree with you in the chat, and they identified a lot with your story there. Thank you for sharing that, Janine. I love that. I want to ask also, and maybe this can go to Ashella now. You've there's two things here in my view, why ontology or why universe is wanting us to bring this up now, and why it's important for universe. On one hand, individually, we're being asked to step up, and in order to do that, as Janine is saying, you have to do that shadow work, you have to do that integration, and having a better understanding of those past lives and why you're in those traps right now, those recurring loops, those old patterns, will help you have a leg up before you jump to that next level, which seems to be being presented to us now in that first part of the show here today. On top of that, though, because we're being leveled up, we're not alone in all of this. A lot of us are in relationships, or we're seeking relationships, and understanding people's past lives, your own past life, but our loved ones' past lives also might be absolutely critical right now also to get through this jump together. Whether you're in union or you're trying to be in union, that aspect of the relationship parts of past lives and how they impact us is so very critical right now as well. Speak to that, Ashala, and how is that integrated here into the workshop that you guys are recording on Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I want to just mention that you said earlier something about people went crazy when they were exposed to that information.
Yep.
And I know, I'm sure, speaking for Janine and myself, like, hopefully I can speak for Janine too, I know her pretty well, that, you know, we've had a long, slow process with integrating a lot of this. And I'm able to channel extraordinary stuff with wild out there information, going into past lives, going into timeline portals and all of that. I mean, if I had started doing that, you know, 25 years ago when I was first really learning these skills and doing my own reflective work, I would have twisted my noodle a bit too much too, right? I came close a few times. It was like, oh boy, okay, like back off a little bit here. And that's what I say to people. Like, if it's overwhelming you, just step back and wait till you're in an energy of curiosity. But one of the things that drives us to really want to get better at this is that we see relationships as such an obvious place where we see immediate both fallout from our, you know, like Janine is saying, there's unexplainable things that happen in relationships. We get drawn to the same kind of people over and over again. I've heard stories where people are like, I keep meeting a person, like I keep always going out with Johns or something, right? Or Joes or whatever, right? Like, it's like we have these patterns, and we can see in relationships so clearly how learning and developing these awarenesses, digging underneath the surface. It's not just what's happened in this lifetime even. It's obviously connected. We've been together before. We have a history with this person. And when we see the effect that, as Janine is saying, we can see the positive effect of knowing some of that and working with it. And it's such an incentive, isn't it? We all want to improve our relationships. So I always say, you know, I learned the tarot. You probably remember this, Janine. I was fixated on somebody for, I don't know, a year and a half. Bless his soul. It never worked out. But I was so fixated that I just was at the tarot deck day and night, doing more and more and more and learning, looking things up. And then, I had to learn about our past lives. Why is it like this? And, you know, maybe it didn't quite, you know, create that outcome in that particular situation that I thought was ideal. And yet I learned so much, and I learned a lot about myself. And it did make me a better person in my future relationships. So it is, every ounce that we put into this is making us more resilient, more able to hold all this wild up-leveling that's coming at us. And also it's enhancing our relationships. It's improving the quality of our relationships. So I just see it so, like, there's no losing in this.
Yeah.
And also, like, even the ontology and the synchronicities, it's like the more you work that muscle, the more it starts happening. And then you're like, this is so cool. You can't deny it. It's so obvious, right? It's so exciting when we get into that.
It's very exciting. So two things here. Both, thank you for that. I'm looking at it from I want to add a third element to this. I didn't think about it before the show, but so on the one point, the personal development here, as we're moving up to the next level, to understanding our relationships, having the benefit of those relationships being better served by understanding past lives. Again, the triggers, the personal growth that comes out of that. But two, I want to add, or three, I would like to add, like, I don't want to say the war effort, but I would say the mission aspect of it. A big thing about past lives and being in tune with your mission and being at the top or at the tip of the spear of doing the work that you actually came here to do is being able to recognize the people around you with whom you have those past lives and with whom you have to do specific things to break perhaps old patterns and then to get to the next level. Janine and I recognized each other the first time as we're supposed to do stuff together, and then we realized, oh, we have all this past life things that we needed to address, and by doing so, we became this bigger than the parts itself, right? So Janine was good on her videos, I was good on my videos, but when we came together, it's like, oh my God, then the magic started happening and we created this community, right? So understanding who has those past life relationships, those karmic relationships with you, being able to point that out and then do that process brings you that much closer to being alignment with your mission. Again, presumably in what's next for humanity here in this evolutionary step that we're just going through. Janine, speak to that here, the importance, and you described it here also.
Thận trọng chặt chẽ, sợ có chút sai lầm. Dù có tham quan cùng không gian phát quốc lại tài điểm, nơi sản xuất binh khí các trụ, cung tiễn, bộ sừng binh giáp điều động chúng ta đều là chất lượng tốt nhất, giá cả cũng hợp lý. Hẳn sẽ là lựa chọn hàng đầu của binh bộ. Không cần bại lộ quan hệ giữa bọn họ và chúng ta. Sở Linh giảm một tiếng, Thành Cả Vận nghĩ một chút lại nói. Còn nữa, đối với Vu Thầy Thần, cố gắng hết sức thu mua ngựa của người Mông và người nữ chân nhập quan. Người trong trại nuôi của chúng ta cố gắng công động đến. Năm ngoái là mùa đông tuyết lớn, năm nay nước tỏa nhiều chính là thích hợp nuôi một bầy ngựa lớn. Không thể vì cái nhỏ mà mất cái lớn, phải nhìn xa trông rộng. Còn có chiêu nặng nhưng nhiều người chẳng được, nhiều một chút cũng đừng lo. Quan ngoại có người nữ chân, người thắt đá, đoán nhanh tam vệ, quân hộ Liêu Đông còn có hưởng bá đạo. Đủ loại thế lực dân giới phức tạp. Một khi xảy ra chuyện gì, những người này có thể nhanh chóng tổ chức thành một đám thiết kỵ được huấn luyện có tố chất, công mã thành thạo. Đây đảm bảo vũ lực cho các loại sản nghiệp của chúng ta ở quan ngoại. Hai tên buôn lậu súng ống đàn dược càng nói càng vui vẻ, đang mặt mày hớn hở, và Vân Xuân có vẻ không vui gì đến. Thành Cả Vận vội dành lấy cái chặn giấy đè lên tấm thiếp trên bàn, đứng dậy cười nói: Đồng chí đến rồi, mau ngồi đi. Lê Nhi pha trà, Đồng Nhi không vui về chuyện gì hết. Ngọc Đường Xuân ngồi trên ghế thở dài sâu kín, cũng không có việc gì. Lão gia binh phát Đức Châu, hiện giờ ở nhà tình hình cũng không biết gì thôi. Thỉnh thoảng nghe người ta nói đến thì lại càng thêm bận tâm. Nàng liếc nhìn Thành Cả Vận một cái nói: Vừa biết cậu Tuyết Nhi đến công trường đối diện xem xây xong nhà địa chủ, nghe những điều dân từ Đức Châu chạy trốn đến đây nói thành Đức Châu đã từng 3 lần bị Bạch Y quân công kích. Lúc đó Bạch Y quân vừa khởi binh mới hơn 1 vạn nhân mã, kết quả không công kích được mới chuyển hướng qua nội địa. Hiện giờ bọn Hồng Bá Đạo nghe nói có 3 vạn người rồi, nghe mà thực sự khiến cho người ta lo cho lão già quá. Thành Cả Vận vừa nghe mấy việc này bất giác cười nói: Người ấy không cần lo lắng vớ vẩn, nếu để phu nhân thấy không phải khiến người của ta thêm. Theo ta thấy sẽ không có việc gì. Quốc công hiện giờ thân phận tôn quý, không thể để ngài sách thương thúc ngựa, tự mình chinh chiến ra trường, chỉ là chỉ huy chung chung, điều hành toàn quân mà thôi. Thành Đức Châu tường sâu hảo cao, từ trước là nơi đóng quân luyện binh của triều đình, binh lính ở đó vẫn là 10 quân tiền chiến. Hơn nữa hiện giờ Thành Đức Châu lưu trú đóng 6 vạn đại quân, gấp đôi Hưởng Bá Đạo. Dù bồi quân thủ thành, một thực không có gì mà làm cả. Ngọc Vân Xuân nghe xong và thở phào nhẹ nhõm, nói: Vẫn là vậy thì biết đang ngồi người khác. Ta nói tập sự của mình với Tuyết Nhi, nàng ta là chỉ nói, không sao đâu. Lão gia chỉ huy tiên linh vật mã như địch, chính là người trong giang hồ đi tới đi lui, dựa vào một thần hỏa tiên linh cũng diệt được ngay rồi. Hậu nhân của Dương gia tướng mà, anh minh thật võ giỏi giang. Thực là bị đằng than làm cho tức chết mà. Sở Linh nghe xong khẽ cười, vừa muốn nói một câu: Lão ta nhà ngươi anh minh thần vũ giỏi giang như thế nào, hay là vì tự mình nhận ra được sự lợi hại của Dương gia thương. Chợt nhớ đến quan hệ của tiểu thư của mình và Dương Lăng, lần chơi trong đó có bảo toàn này sẽ không khiến nàng ấy không trở nên buồn bực. cho nên vội vàng ngậm miệng lại. Lão tỷ nhi kinh ngạc dương mắt nhìn Sở Linh vô duyên vô cớ bật cười, sau đó lại một bộ dạng nghiêm trang, lại hỏi Thành Khởi Vận: vậy tỷ, vậy theo tỷ thấy bọn Thường Mã Đạo đều có biết khó mà đối, tự bỏ được tấn công Đức Châu không? Thành Khởi Vận trầm ngâm một lát, sắc mặt nghiêm trọng lại nói: sẽ không. Chiếm cứ Sơn Đông, Bắc Ân Kinh Sư, Nam khống chế Trung Lương, hẳn là kế sách đã định của người có trí tuệ trong bọn phản tặc. Sơn Đông thủy vận quá quan trọng đối với Kinh Sư rồi. Vận chuyển đường sông một khi bị chặt đứt cũng có nghĩa là chặt đứt mệnh mạch của Kinh Sư, khiến cho Kinh Sư trở thành hòn đảo đơn độc nhẹ nhàng. Điều này gây ra sự phá hoại đối với triều đình càng nghiêm trọng hơn nhiều so với việc Thường Mã Đạo Bá Châu gần Kinh Kỳ giết qua giết lại. Ngoài ra, Triệu Phong Tử tiến quân Sơn Tây, một khi đứng vững nhất định phát binh phản đông. Lúc đó Đông Tây hô ứng lấy được Hà Nam, cổ họng Kinh Sư bị kềm kẹp chặt chẽ, lương thảo không vào được, thuế phú không vào được. Đại quân hơn 10 vạn không lương, không quân, không tông, từng phán, phản tặc dễ dàng liền có thể lấy được đầu não Đại Minh. Đây chính là nguyên nhân Dương Lăng kiệt lực muốn tiêu diệt Bạch Y quân hoặc là đuổi ra khỏi Sơn Đông. Kỳ thực Dương Lăng vẫn còn một sự lo lắng và không muốn người khác biết. Hoàng thượng không có con, hiện tại Đông Cung không có thái tử. Nếu tùy ý phản tặc thành lập căn cứ địa ngay trước mắt, một nếu phản tặc thực sự có thể kỵ binh phá thành, hoàng thượng có sơ sẩy thì Tuyên Vương tranh đích, thiên hạ lại không thể vãn hồi. Vậy thì hắn cũng chỉ có thể lực bất tòng tâm thôi. Thành Khởi Vận trầm ngâm một chút lẩm bẩm: phản tặc đã ý thức được điểm này, lấy Đức Châu đó là một phép thử, cho nên bọn chúng nhất định sẽ hết toàn lực. Nhưng bọn Thường Mã Đạo Bá Châu 3 vạn thiết kỷ có cũng nhiên là chúng người ta không nổi, nhưng nguy cơ chính thức vẫn là đại quân 10 vạn của Dương Hổ. Mặc dù du lục đánh hạ Bá Châu chỉ dựa vào 3 vạn thiết kỷ cũng không thể khống chế toàn cảnh Sơn Đông. Muốn chiếm cứ Sơn Đông còn phải dựa vào nhân mã của Dương Hổ. Ta nghĩ có lẽ hắn chống đỡ được 3 vạn Thường Mã Đạo Bá Châu tấn công chỉ là muốn tiêu diệt đại quân Dương Hổ thì khó đấy. Đối diện với bọn Thường Mã Đạo đến đi vô tung vô tích, triều đình giống như là dơ búa nặng ngàn cân đập bông, có lực mà không chịu được, một khi không cẩn thận còn làm đau eo. Ngoài trừ gặp chiêu phá chiêu, thực không còn cách nào hay, cho nên không cần lo lắng sự an nguy sống chết của đại quân. Muốn lo cũng nên lo là hắn sẽ gặp chuyện không tấn công được, không có cách nào chèn giặc. Đại nhân Bình Bắc, Bình Hoa, Bình Di, Bình Ban, có dùng trí, có lực địch, dùng vũ lực, có chính mưu, có thể nói là diệu kế xuất hiện nhiều lần. Nhưng bọn lưu tặc mã quỷ này căn bản không có lối mòn, muốn gặp chiêu phát chiêu như thế nào? Câu cửa miệng nói loạn quyền đánh chết sư phụ già. Bọn Thường Mã Đạo Bạch Y quân này chính là dùng loạn quyền. Sở Linh thở dài nói: ôi ước gì bảo lao của dân sư phụ không bao giờ tồn, thần thương không ngã. Là Vân Xuân những bài điệu bật thốt đến: lão già nhà ta đương nhiên là bảo lao trương phùn. Thầy gầy bạn đón nhận ánh mắt của Ngọc Đường Xuân, hai cặp con ngươi tràn đầy sóng mắt tỏ ra cảm thông cảm thất của nhau. Anh thư Sở Kiến đại lực tương đồng. Quân đội Hoa Đương địa vào sâu trong nội địa thảo nguyên. Nhìn ra xa, bốn phía đều là thảo nguyên mênh mông, trời đất trống trải, dường như chỉ có sự tồn tại của bọn họ. Dọc đường tập kích phá trại, địa doanh lớn nhỏ thuộc Bá Nhan bị nhổ bỏ, hành quân rất nhanh. Bởi vì Bá Nhan bí mật chiêu mộ tướng sĩ các bộ xuất binh đại đồng, doanh trại hậu phương cực kỳ trống không. Y trước đó cũng phong tỏa nghiêm ngặt tin tức để phòng bị bộ tộc Ngõa Lạc hoặc Bá Nhan tam vệ biết được. Rất thảo nguyên rộng lớn, mặc dù cùng lượng cùng bộ tộc xưa, giờ này cũng rất khó gặp mặt, khó nắm bắt tin tức của nhau. Về lý mà nói, đợi cả địch khác biết được lúc hắn phòng thủ chống không đối với bộ tộc, liền có ý muốn tấn công, y cũng đã dẫn quân bắc phản rồi. Chỉ có điều y không bao giờ ngờ được, đường đường là con trai của Hoa Đương trở thành con trai của tộc trưởng, bộ tộc đối địch, không ngờ mật kết với huynh đệ trong bộ tộc của y. Hơn nữa còn nhận được tin tức chính xác y xuất binh ra ngoài. Càng không ngờ được Hoa Đương nhát gan, sợ phiền phức trước giờ mà dạ tâm lại to lớn lên, không ngờ dám chủ động xuất binh cướp sạch doanh trại quân đội của y. Bá Nhan có lý do không thể không xuất binh, không thể không mạo hiểm để che giấu tan tác của người khác. Thậm chí y giữ người vợ yêu từ trước đến giờ như hình với bóng để ăn lòng dân. Sau đó hiện giờ xem ra y mạo hiểm đã thất bại rồi. Một bước thua, từng bước thua. 3 năm chinh chiến chiến trường đoạt đất chiếm nông trường đang bị Hoa Đương nuốt mất. Hiện tại Hoa Đương đã từng bước đẩy mạnh đến đại bản doanh của y rồi. Mỗi chiến sĩ đều đoạt lấy được lớn của cải, đã tìm được một phần chiến sĩ áp giải trở về rồi. Lòng tham của bọn họ càng ngày càng lớn. Đối với đại bản doanh giàu có nhất bộ lạc Bá Nhan, nhất định phải được. Trời đầy sao, cây cỏ tươi tốt, một vòng trăng lưỡi liềm bóng loáng như gấm phát ra hào quang yếu ớt trên mặt đất. Đội mã của hơn 1 vạn người giống như một đám mây đen giữa ánh trăng, chậm rãi di chuyển trên thảo nguyên, chỉ có tiếng bước chân đạp nhẹ. Phía trước là đội nghìn người của nãi nhân đài. Đây là một nhóm bộ đội mũi nhọn cách đại đội khoảng 3 dặm, phụ trách tìm kiếm và cảnh giới uy danh Bá Nhan bên ngoài. Cho dù đã có tin tức xác thực nói y đã đem người chạy đến phủ đại đồng, nhưng là để tích uy, Hoa Đương vẫn là cẩn thận mấy lần đã tiếp cận hang ổ lâu năm của Bá Nhan rồi. Ông ta không thể không cẩn thận. Đột nhiên, tin tức truyền đến một loạt tiếng chém giết kêu la. Trong lòng Hoa Đương cũng căng thẳng, lập tức lệnh cho đại quân đứng tại chỗ đợi lệnh, phái Bà Nhại Nhĩ dẫn 3.000 kỵ binh thám tính kết quả. Để thận trọng, ông ta lại phái đội hơn 1.000 người, phân phó người cảnh giới trong vòng hơn 1 dặm. Trận hình trong đêm tối xem ra giống như là chim ưng dương cánh. Nhân mã quy trên đồng cỏ, tiếng chém giết nổi lên bốn phía. Trong đêm tối, từng mạng người gần như không thể thấy hàn quang mà thiệt mạng. Tiếng giống giận dữ của đàn ông, tiếng kêu khóc của phụ nữ và trẻ em, tiếng va chạm binh đao sắt thép, còn có tiếng ngựa hí dê kêu, tiếng trâu giống chạy trốn cứ phía hỗn tạp với nhau. Bà Nha Nhĩ vừa mới xông đến, tinh thần chấn động. Nghe động tĩnh này, bộ lạc này không nhỏ, hơn nữa cực kỳ giàu có, thế này lại có thể vơ vét một khoản lớn rồi. Y căn bản không sợ hãi, vừa vung cái cơm xoa trong tay, đồng thời hung hãn quất lên mông ngựa hét lớn: nô lệ, dê bỏ của cải và phụ nữ, trường sinh thiên ban cho chúng ta đang ở trước mặt, xông lên. 3.000 thiết kỵ dũng mãnh xông đến, trong bóng tối không dùng cung tiễn được, từng thanh đao cong sáng loáng lặng yên giơ cao trong tay. Theo bước chân ngựa chạy ầm ầm, nhìn xa xa dưới ánh trăng một màn hàn quang khó coi kinh người. Vẫn là tấn công như đỉnh lũ, nơi trên mã đi qua sóng phân gió nứt. Cả một đội kỵ binh như một thanh đao nhọn cắt đôi hai bên đang hỗn chiến, cứ xông đến giết, lao đến bên ngoài cả doanh trướng, sau đó lại lượn quanh mình vòng cung, yểm thân giết tới. Lúc